And here I was, so proud of myself yesterday for remembering to turn my mic back on when we started, and then I forgot again today. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to week 4, episode 18 of Into the Dungeon Verse, where Mr. Adam consistently forgets to turn on his mic. You can expect that kind of greatness as well as interactive quests Tuesday through Thursday on this show. Okay, thank you for being here. Thank you for bearing with my technical difficulties. I'm excited to get started or continue our intergalactic quest today, our interstellar story. Yesterday we did some pretty awesome stuff. I was saying to those of you who are just hopping in that if this is your very first episode, you can join. That's totally okay. You just need a piece of paper and a pencil. So make sure you have all of your things. We're going to go ahead and move into the segment where we cover our rules, and then we'll recap a little bit, and we'll hop right into our story. I've got a fun quest for you today. I think you will enjoy it a lot. There's some exciting things to happen, some exciting decisions, and some plot development as things become more interesting here. Janet, I'm getting hearts emoji. I'm going to assume that means you can hear me now. So, awesome. I am showing that I should be good on audio, but I will get a real quick confirmation to make sure I'm good. I think we're solid now. So obviously holler at me in the comments if there is an issue and I don't notice it. Let me know. But holler at me in the comments if you're here and you have a question or you want to shout something out or anything like that. I'm checking the comments throughout the video, so I'll pop over there every once in a while. But let's get into our quest for today. All right. So in this, let's see. Okay, I got a solid confirmation we can hear you from Dorian. Thank you, Dorian. I appreciate you spotting me and being there to let me know. All right, so our methods of randomization that we can choose from, because there are going to be times where our character's action is not guaranteed success. I'm starting a story, but we're sharing this. I'm giving you part of it, and you're adding the rest. So you're adding some of the difficulties, or you're adding some of the challenges, and you're adding those extra details. But the methods of randomization that we can use are as listed on our screen. We can, 1, do a coin toss, and for the harder the difficulty, the more coin tosses you'll have to succeed in. 2, you can do a standard die like a D6 or a 6-sided die that you find in Yahtzee, Sorry, or any of your board games laying around the house. Or you can use a D20 if you have one of those and you know what they are. Those are die that are particularly used in D20 based systems like Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder. And then finally, you can use a randomization table. We have a PDF available for you in some previous episodes, and you can also take a look at the picture that I'll show you in just a minute. This is where you just kind of toss things on the table and see where it lands on, and that will tell you whether your action is successful or not. Next, we have our difficulty table. As always, I'll put the difficulty up for you when it is relevant. However, if you want to use this for your own games, or if you just want to have a reference, what does this look like compared to the others? Here you go. This is our difficulty table. That's where I pull it all from. I just copy it and paste it into the section where we actually need it. So I'll give you just like a second to take a picture if this is something you want, or you can always go back and watch it once the video is available, and you can get it from there. And here's that randomization table that I was talking about. This is one that we already filled in for you, but you can make one on paper pretty easily. You make a circle, cross, another circle, and you got to do some erasing or planning. But fill that out, and then you just don't look at it, toss something on it. It could be a crumpled up bit of paper. It could be whatever you have, and then find out what the results are. Sometimes if it's more difficult or easier, I might have you throw multiple and then take the worst or the best depending on which it is, depending on what's appropriate. All right, and then make sure to record your stuff on your character sheet. I say this every time, but it's worth repeating. We do a lot in each of these sessions. It's one of those things that you think you will remember all of it. Very rarely do you. Make little notes. They don't have to be school notes. They don't have to be, well, my character did this, this, and this, and I learned. No, just give us a little bit, or give yourself a little bit to remember. Yeah, I did this. This was my idea. It did not work at all. Or, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was successful swinging across the river. And then this is also an important thing because throughout the story, you're going to earn, through your decisions, you're going to earn different items. You're going to earn different skills and abilities. Like we had Ace and shoot them down and force sensitivity in our last episode. So these are all things that you're going to want to make sure you write down, because when I say if you have this skill and you gained that skill 2 weeks ago, you might be like, I don't remember. Oh no, I didn't write it down. I don't know if I had that skill. So write those things down, create a record for yourself. If you're following multiple episodes, maybe get a little notebook or journal. And these can be drawings and sketches. Maybe this is your character's journal that they keep as they move through this crisis. And then we just have a template for you, so that way you can kind of see more clearly when it's not on a scroll some of the things that you might have on there. You have your character name, what weapon they're using, their hit points. So if you're a new player, you want to keep 20 out of 20 hit points, because sometimes you lose hit points. It doesn't always happen, but occasionally that is a result. All right, now we are back into our story, so I hope you have all of your supplies, and I hope you are ready to get back into our tale. After you arrived in space, your wooden airship, wooden and metal, kind of transformed into a starship. You can decide, remember, what that starship looks like, if it's like a sleek fighter, or if maybe it looks like an X-Wing or a Y-Wing. Maybe it is a bigger kind of frigate. Maybe it's just a small transport like Serenity. You can choose. Maybe it's modeled after your favorite sci-fi show. Maybe it is entirely new and original. That's all up to you. But you traveled in your ship, or you started investigating, finding all of these different things. You looked behind you and you saw the fade, which if you weren't here at yesterday's episode, you'll have to go back and watch and find out more about that. Some of you may have sent a probe, and then you found a red button, and you got to choose whether you pushed the red button or not. However, if you didn't push the red button, your captain, Remy, did. And the result was the same. You ended up traveling into hyperspace. You ended up traveling into hyperspace, and you came out right in front of an asteroid belt, and you had to decide how you were going to get past it. You could pilot, you could shoot, or you could use your mind. So some of you may have even tried to do that. I don't know what your results were, only you do. But after that, you discovered a planet. You had entered its orbit, and we ended with you discovering a derelict vessel, floating dead in space. You think this may have been where your distress signal was coming from, though now it is unclear. That doesn't look good, Remy says as you look out at the vessel. And so now, what are you going to do? How will you investigate the broken craft? Remember, the timing could be important here. Do you look from the outside to find out what you know? Do you immediately board the ship without scanning for any threats or information? Or do you send one of your probes? You have 3 of those, unless you lost one in a previous episode or occurrence. So you could send a probe, and your probe might gather some information as well. So I'd like you to take a moment to decide. Are you going to look from the outside, being cautious, making sure that there's not a trap waiting for you? Are you going to immediately board the ship, trying to gather information as quickly as you can and continue moving on? Or are you going to play it safe, but maybe use some of this new technology that you have and send a probe to investigate? These are little droids that have a lot of cameras and sensors, and they can pick up information and data for you. If you're watching on your own time, remember you always have the opportunity to pause and take more time to plan out your decision. And if there is a thought that you have, or an idea or a solution you have that I didn't list, in role-playing games, generally there's a lot of give and take between the game runner and the player. You can say, well, what about this? And I can say, yeah, that could work. You could try that. But in this, because I'm coming to you with a pre-made story, it's got to be a little bit more not linear, but it has to have some set options. However, this story should never be limited to just that. So if you have an idea to improve it, or you have a solution that's not in there, come up with your own rules and your own difficulty for that. That's part of the reason I put the difficulty table there at the beginning. All right, make your decision. Are you looking from the outside, immediately boarding the ship, or sending a probe? If you're watching on your own time, this is the time to pause. If you're watching live, well, buckle up, because we're moving forward. Here is the result. There's actually no difficulty for any of these. These are all actions that just happen because there's no chance of them failing. However, it will change the result or your opportunities in the future in this particular encounter. So here are our results. If you're looking from the outside, you're going to see that the life pods have been launched. Um, you're not sure what that means, or maybe you are, but you're wondering how you know what a life pod is and how you know it's been launched. But you see that there are these empty spots in the ship pointing toward the planet itself. Maybe it's a way to get down to the planet safely? But why did they leave their ship? If you immediately boarded, your quick action is actually going to give you a little bit more time to search the ship because there are some issues going on the ship itself and on your ship, potentially if it were damaged in the asteroid field. So you're going to have access to all three opportunities that are coming up. However, all the other options, so if you looked from the outside or sent a probe, you're only going to get 2 of those. And you might be even more limited depending on the damage of your ship. So if you played yesterday, make sure that you remember whether your ship was damaged or not and how badly it was damaged, because that will be relevant here very soon. So you will have access to all 3 opportunities ahead. Sending a probe. Your probe is going to detect that there is no life on board immediately. It's also going to detect that the life pods have been launched, so you'll gain the same information as if you looked from the outside. However, you're also going to find evidence that another ship has attacked this ship. The probe returns unharmed with a small shiny sphere it found floating in space. You may add thermal detonator to your inventory. Of course, after you investigate, you are able to board the ship regardless, but you do not immediately board if you did not choose that as your very first, action. So, copy everything down here, take a moment to recollect your ship's damage. I'll go over it when it's relevant. And let's continue on in our quest. To dock on the ship, your ship extends a little tube that connects to a docking bay on the other ship, and it creates a vacuum, or rather it decompresses, and it fills it with oxygen, and you are able to enter the other ship, going straight from yours to the other. Now, here is where Remy is going to talk to you if your ship was damaged. So there were 3 different options. Your ship could be only slightly damaged, it could be very damaged, or moderately damaged, or it could be very damaged. So you had 3 different options there. If you flew through and failed, it was only lightly damaged, which means you're only going to lose 1 opportunity ahead. If it was, if you tried to shoot them down and failed, it was moderately damaged. And if you attempted to use the force and failed, it was severely damaged. Okay, that'll be relevant here in just a second. But let me describe the scene that you see as you enter this hallway. It is long, it is quiet. You do not even hear the hum of a ship because the ship, as I described before, is dead in space. It's just floating there. As you walk along, you see scorch marks on the wall, some long and vicious and jagged, others kind of random and like splats, and some thin and precise. But there are scorch marks lining the sides, the ceiling, and the other side as well. Even the floor itself has been marred, as if the metal has just been melted. Wires are exposed in various places. And you think that you would probably be unsettled enough with just all of this damage and destruction. But as you enter the next hallway, the one leading deeper into the ship, well, you see something very strange. The hallway has been twisted and warped, turned on itself in this scrunched manner, as if a giant just grabbed it and crushed it within their hands. The metal is kind of twisted and torn in these weird paths. You find yourself having trouble navigating over this area. It takes you some time to walk through this strange hallway. What could have caused something like this? It didn't look like the blasts or the marks or the scorches that you'd seen before. You continue to press onward. And you finally arrive in an area where you see some supplies. Now, I said Remy came to you earlier, and she told you about some damage on the ship. She said that there is a meter, whatever that means, and it is going down. It's labeled O2. And she thinks it's really important because it went from green to red and now it's flashing a lot. She said that you're going to need some particular parts to fix this. Now, depending on the damage will determine how many parts you have to get. Here's the other thing. As you've been attached to the ship, Remy has detected something, or the ship has detected something and reported it to her. The ship you are on is unstable. The engine has been compromised, and it is going to detonate any minute now. You need to grab those supplies that you need for your ship to repair it so you can enter atmosphere on the planet below to finish what you need to do. You may also have the opportunity to search this ship for anything useful that could be stored in this area. So you're going to have a moment to choose. You can get into canister 1, canister 2, or canister 3. Canister 1 and canister 2 can also be traded for a needed part. So if you need one part, if your ship was only lightly damaged, you're going to have to get rid of one of your canisters. So you can't use you can't unlock a canister. You're going to have to try to get that part that you need instead. If you arrived on the ship immediately, you have access to all 3 of these. If you did not arrive immediately, so if you either looked from the outside or sent a probe, you only get 2 of these. So if your ship is severely damaged and you need 3 parts, you're only going to be able to fix it part way. You're going to have to find another part soon. Or you can leave the ship immediately and make sure that you are well and safe by the time that this ship detonates. As you go through, you see that people lived on this ship and that there was definitely inhabitants here, but it's all gone now. Things have been strewn about. Everyone left in a rush. Nothing is organized in this area. So, what are you going to do? Do you have to get parts? Are you able to even unlock any of these canisters or attempt to unlock them? Or do you just have to grab parts and bolt right out of here? Go ahead and make your decisions on whether you're going to get into the canisters or not. Alright, our difficulty and results. So to get into canister 1, I hope you chose which canisters because you only get to choose a couple depending on what your situation is. You guys have to keep track of that. Each one has different things in it, and each one has different difficulties to get in it. The easiest is right in the center, that's canister 2. You get a reward, you get a targeting program. That's what it's labeled. It's some sort of disc-like thing that looks like it can be plugged in or inserted into a ship or some other sort of device. So that's in canister 2. That's easy. That's the easiest one to unlock. Canister 1, that one has a blaster pistol. And that's going to give you a +1 to any range attacks that you make. So if your character is attacking from a range, you get a +1. That could be the benefit of maybe you get to flip a coin again, or you get to add 1 to your roll when you roll with a d6 or a d20. That's up to you how you apply that, but that means that it is a very slight benefit to whatever you're doing if it's a ranged attack. Now that's a medium difficulty, so 3 heads in a row, 4 or higher on the standard die, 12 or higher on the d20, and then roll once and take whatever you get on that table. Alright, so this is our first challenge. If you're joining us today, you can flip coins. If you don't have a coin, you can flip your pencil. Choose if your pencil is facing you. Then, like if the point is facing you, that's heads. If the point is facing away, that's tails. You can even use a pencil as a coin flip. And then finally, our hardest canister to get into is canister 3. However, it has a very solid reward inside. This one is very hard, which means you have to get 6 heads in a row, a 9 or higher, rolling 2 d6s. d20, you have to get a 19 or higher. And then finally, on the table, you roll 3 times and you take the worst of those options. However, if you succeed, if you get in there, you are going to get a bowcaster. If there are any fans of Wookiees out there, or Chewbacca specifically, you'll know that a bowcaster is the favorite weapon of Wookiees. It is a very powerful laser weapon. So that is a +2 to ranged weapons. So ranged attacks and attempts. So where your blaster pistol is +1, your bowcaster is +2. So finish up making your rolls for this. Did you get into any of the canisters? Did you just grab the parts you needed and head out? Because you do start to hear some noises on the ship, some shifts and some pops and some clangs as things are beginning to move. There is a rumble deeper within, probably where the engine is. So take a moment longer to finish up your rolls here and make sure you mark down those things that you have, because the blaster pistol, the targeting program, the bowcaster could all be incredibly useful to you here in the very near future. So make sure you have those recorded. All right, and we will move on after you have gathered your supplies. You run back through the ship, you go back through the twisted hallway, through the regular hallway, you go through the docking tube, and you get back on your vessel where Remy is waiting for you. She's like, come on, let's go. That ship's gonna blow any second now. You load everything up, your probe has boarded the ship again if you send it out, and you are pulling away from that ship. You're just getting out of range whenever it is going to detonate and explode. Except, of course, you won't hear it because you're in space. So take a moment here to mark down everything on your character sheet if you have not already. We've done quite a few things. You have had an opportunity to gain some materials. Did you see anything on the ship that I didn't describe? Were there any details that I missed that were in your story? Remember that this is your story that you get to create. I'm only providing a base for you, so I'm only giving you part. You get to add to it. And please feel free to do that and enjoy doing that. All right, let us move on. You are going to pull away from that ship. It will detonate, and you will start to enter atmosphere after you've done the necessary repairs that you need to. A little hologram, which is an image that appears and moves around in front of you, can demonstrate how to fix all of these things. So maybe you help Remy, maybe you leave all the work to her, maybe you just play around with the blaster pistol or bowcaster that you might have gotten. You can choose how you do that, but the ship will be repaired and you'll be able to go down into atmosphere pretty soon here. When you enter atmosphere, you're going to enter the planet, and you saw before it had a kind of blue tint to it, and it continues to have that blue tint as you enter atmosphere and you get closer to the planet's surface. The sand itself actually kind of has a blue hue, and it makes everything kind of cast in that blue light. But the beacon is somewhere close to where you come in. You'll only need to keep flying and searching around. Remy is looking at the scanner, it's beeping, it's getting closer, and you're moving toward it. But then a lot of beeping starts happening. And they sound very urgent and very alarming because they are alarms. Oh no. Okay, we're being attacked. And you're gonna see these green bolts of light and energy just go right over you and hit your ship, just glancing, but causing it to rumble and to shake. Okay, the distress beacon is down below. I think I have an idea of how to deal with these things, but you should go. We need to find whoever this is. Go, now! And you have an opportunity as she soars low and opens up the back to exit the ship. She flies off, leaving you in the sand, and with the signal, you know that you just need to go into these hills where you see some trees, and you will be at the distress beacon's signal or its source. You see Remy fly, do a corkscrew turn and twist as these two other smaller vessels come screeching and chasing her, shooting as they do so. You're impressed at how well she seems to keep them off her tail, but you don't have time to stay and admire the skills. You need to move on. And you uncover, or you come to, an ancient-looking temple. You can tell that time has weathered the stone, and the trees and the plants have almost grown to become a part of this area. And as you enter this area, you feel a little twinge in your head. And if you have the force sensitivity perk or feat that you would have gotten from succeeding and moving an asteroid in yesterday's episode, then you are going to hear something in particular. You are going to hear, "Hurry. You must arrive. Hurry. It is your time. Hurry." And then it'll fade. Everyone else will just feel a little pop, a little twinge in their head. But you can continue pressing forward. When you get closer to the temple and when you can see inside, first you might hear the sound, a buzz, and a kind of clangs and clashes. But they're not clangs, they're not clashes, they sound as if they're made of energy. You have trouble placing what this sounds should fit until you enter and you see these two robed figures swirling around each other, using blades of light to strike out and to block the other's attacks. One is green and the other is red. The one with the red blade is wearing dark robes, and the one with the green blade is wearing brown and white. You see, they fight quite differently from each other. The one with the green blade is graceful, is elegant. The other is savage and ferocious, leaving long marks along the wall. And suddenly you recognize from the ship what must have caused those scorch marks. You see a statue get thrown across the room, but no one grabbed it. All you saw was the dark-robed figure hold their hand out and move it across. If you used the Force before, you may recognize that this is exactly what had just happened. And the battle continues, and then you're going to hear a voice. Everyone will hear this voice, even if you don't have Force sensitivity yet. "Hurry. You must hurry. Get here." And then you will see the green-robed figure glance over at you, noticing that you are there. But it is an imperceptible glance, one that only you see because you are the recipient. It appears that the combatant has not yet noticed. You will hear the other combatant yell out in an angry voice, "You know nothing! Your order knows nothing! You will fall and be destroyed!" You can tell now that they're speaking that this is a woman as she's yelling at this other combatant, and a strong slash causes the brown-robed figure with the green saber to step back, and her hood falls back. And you can see she has long brown hair that's braided in an intricate knot and whips around. And she says quite calmly, "My order knows more than you give it credit for, but that is not what I have come here to debate. I have not come to debate at all." She slides forward, striking at the legs of this person, causing a spark to fly off, and you see the black-robed figure stagger back. But this only seems to anger them, as another statue goes flying, and this one hits the brown-robed figure, causing her to fly back against a wall, hitting against it and falling to the ground. It appears that this fight is turning for the worst. At least for the person that you think is calling for you. Maybe you're running forward. Maybe you're stuck there. Maybe you're trying to climb up. Maybe you're just waiting frozen in fear. You can decide what your character's actions are. But as things get more intense, as you see the black-robed figure move forward and move in, you're going to see suddenly the brown-robed figure rise up. The small thing that she had dropped earlier, the blade, comes flying back up to her hand, and then she jumps up in the air and she kicks twice, once with one leg and then with the other, spinning, hitting this woman, in the face, causing her to stagger back. And as she's flipping and kicking them, you see that thing she was holding come flying out towards you and skittering to the ground. She turns and looks at you, and you hear in your head, "It is your time now. The Force will be with you." And as she says this, her hands rise and the temple begins to rumble. And you see the black-robed figure call out, "No! Stop her! Don't let her do this!" And then the temple starts to crack and rocks come falling down. You see the black-robed figure put up their arms, and they seem to be holding rocks suspended in the air above them, but more come tumbling down. And last, just in the final moment before the temple crushes, you just hear, "Go." And then the temple collapses, leaving behind only rubble, only dust. You're standing there. Perhaps you're looking at the item that's on the ground. Perhaps you're holding it already in your hands as a small red button in the center, silver and black lines across it. You can feel an energy within. You don't have a lot of time to think because you can already tell that there are people moving around the rubble. The black-robed figure called out to people, called out to someone, and now you can see that there are shapes moving all around. They have some sort of devices. They might look similar to a blaster pistol, and they're scanning the area. And you hear, "Go. Take the speeder." And you turn as your mind is guided, and you see a speeder waiting there. And in the distance, in the woods, you can see that someone is already prepared. They're coming at you. They're coming up to this area. You only have a moment. You will need to escape using this unknown device. You will have to figure out what this thing that you've been given for and what the force is and what you are supposed to do. Go. And we will end our session there. What will happen next time? What is this blade of light that you have been given? What does the robed figure want you to do? Were you too late? Has everything already failed? You won't know. We will continue this story tomorrow. Thank you for playing today. I hope you have enjoyed our brief journey into the Star Wars world, knowing that it will only continue and to get deeper as we move on. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of Into the Dungeonverse episode 18. This is the second episode of our Star Wars interactive quest where you are following along. I hope you enjoyed this one today as we got to have some space ship investigation, and we got to go onto a planet and uncover something intense happening down below. What is going on? What is this conflict? What is going to happen in the next episode? And what is your role in all of this? I really appreciate you all playing. I hope that you enjoy it. Up next, we're going to have Round the World with Mr. Walter. And remember, I did announce yesterday that we are having live role-playing programs and events where you can come and join us in a live setting where you will actually be playing a Star Wars role-playing game designed by Fantasy Flights Games. It is an incredibly fun one. I hope that you will come check it out. It's starting next week. We have sessions on Tuesday, Thursday, and on Saturday. We actually have 2 sessions on Tuesday and Thursday. So you've got some options to pick from and some things to choose from. What experience is going to work best for you? Now, thank you for tuning in to some real inspired learning. Remember to always pursue your passions until they become your talent. I appreciate you being here today. Up next is Round the World with Mr. Walter, followed by the Steam Train with Mr. Dorian. We then will have a From the Vault New Minds lesson and end the day with our CEO, Ben Cook. Remember that all of these episodes are available for you at newminds.tv. You can find everything that has been on Into the Dungeonverse and everything that has been on any of the other shows there for you to enjoy for free. So check it out. If you haven't, if this is your very first quest episode, go back and check out our earlier quests because there's been a lot more you can add to your story. Your character can do a little bit of time travel and figure out what has happened in their past because we've already done a ton and we've only been doing it for a little bit. So thank you all for being here. We appreciate it, and we will catch you on the next quest as we finish up for this week tomorrow. Thank you and have a great day.